Welcome to Jim Rohn Talks, where timeless wisdom meets modern life. Have you ever felt like you've been working non-stop, day in and day out, putting in endless hours of effort, yet your results hardly seem to move forward? You save diligently, you invest what you can, you try your absolute best every single day, pushing through challenges and setbacks, but somehow your wealth still stays stagnant, refusing to grow as you'd hoped. If so, the problem may not be that you lack money or resources. After all, many start with little, but that you haven't given your money enough time to truly work for you. Like a seed buried deep in the rich, fertile soil, silent and unseen, yet constantly growing roots and shoots beneath the surface, the power of compound interest operates in much the same quiet, unassuming way. It's not loud or flashy, demanding immediate attention. It's not rushed or impatient, forcing quick results. But when you're patient enough to let it unfold naturally without interference, it can transform something small and insignificant today into something truly great, abundant, and life-changing in the future. I still remember the early years of my own career, back when I was just starting out, full of ambition but short on experience. I was impatient, always wanting everything to come quickly: success, recognition, financial security. I wanted to see tangible results right away to prove my worth, to validate my efforts and show the world I was on the right path. But then, through trial and error, through failures and small victories, I realized a profound truth: things that grow fast also fade fast. The most enduring values in life, the ones that stand the test of time and weather every storm, like the mighty oak tree or the power of compound interest, always require time, unwavering discipline, and unshakable faith. Faith that what you're doing today, even if it feels insignificant, will multiply exponentially in the future. Once you learn to embrace slowness, to appreciate the deliberate pace of genuine growth, you begin to enter the magical zone that only a few people have the perseverance to stay long enough to reach. It's a realm where patience isn't a burden but a superpower, where consistency turns ordinary actions into extraordinary outcomes. In today's video, I'll share with you 5 fundamental principles. Let's expand that to a comprehensive exploration, to understand, apply, and fully harness the power of compound interest, not only in the realm of finance where it's most commonly discussed, but also in your habits, your mindset, and your personal growth. Because compound interest doesn't just happen with money in a bank account or investment portfolio. It happens with every action you repeat daily, every choice you make consistently over time. Whether it's the books you read, the relationships you nurture, or the skills you hone, the principle remains the same. Small, repeated efforts compound into massive results. And you'll want to stay until the end, because principle number 5 is the key that helps you outperform even those who seem more talented or advantaged than you, simply through persistence, discipline, and the inexorable passage of time. Albert Einstein once said, "Compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world." But today, I want to show you that if you understand it deeply and stay consistent with its application, compound interest will become the wonder of your own life, transforming not just your finances but your entire existence. Let's dive into principle 1. Start early, outpace everyone. I once asked a wealthy friend, a man who had built his fortune from humble beginnings through smart, steady decisions, "What's the secret that helped you achieve financial freedom so early in life?" He simply smiled, a knowing glint in his eye, and said, "I didn't do anything special. I just started earlier than others." That simple answer, delivered with such casual wisdom, holds the deep philosophy at the heart of compound interest. In the world of money and in life itself, the one who starts early isn't necessarily the most talented, the most educated, or the luckiest. They're simply someone who understands the irreplaceable value of time sooner than most. They recognize that time is the ultimate multiplier, the silent force that amplifies every effort. Imagine 2 friends, both ordinary people with similar jobs and incomes, each deciding to invest $100 per month in a modest, conservative fund yielding an average annual return. The first friend starts at age 20, full of youthful energy and foresight, and invests consistently for just 10 years before stopping. The second friend, perhaps distracted by life's immediate demands, parties, travel, or simply procrastination, waits until age 30 to begin but then continues steadily until age 60, pouring in more total capital over a longer period. Who ends up with more money at retirement? The answer surprises most people when they first hear it. The first one, the early starter who stopped investing at 30, still ends up wealthier, often by a significant margin. Why? Because for the next 30 years, his money continued to quietly generate more money through the magic of compounding. Interest upon interest, growth upon growth. Time did the heavy lifting, turning a modest sum into a substantial nest egg without any additional contributions. Most of us overlook this building power that remains invisible until it's too late to catch up. We get caught in the trap of waiting for the perfect moment, the right job, the extra savings, the stable economy, only to realize years later that the real opportunity was in starting imperfectly but immediately. I realized something profound from years of observing successful people. Most don't fail because they lack knowledge, intelligence, or opportunity. They fail because they wait too long to start. They wait for the right time, for more money in the bank, for more stability in their lives, for the fear to subside. Then one day they wake up and realize the only thing they've gained is regret, a heavy burden that no amount of late effort can fully erase. The rich understand that time is the highest yielding asset everyone possesses, yet very few invest it wisely. It's a resource distributed equally to all, 24 hours a day, no exceptions, but how we allocate it determines our outcomes. Every day you procrastinate is a day compound interest loses the chance to double itself, to build momentum. It's like planting a seed in your garden. If you plant it today, nurturing it with water and sunlight, it may bear fruit in 10 years, providing shade, beauty, and sustenance. But if you wait until next year to plant it, telling yourself the soil isn't quite ready or the weather isn't perfect, you'll have to wait 11 years for the same fruit. That 1-year delay compounds into lost growth, lost opportunities. I remember when I was younger, in my 20s, full of fire but lacking direction, I used to say to myself, I'll start when I'm ready. I'd put off saving, put off learning new skills, put off building better habits, always convincing myself that tomorrow would be better. But you know what? You're never really ready. No one is ever fully ready to start investing, to learn a new skill, to change their life in meaningful ways. Because every beginning comes with uncertainty, with fear of failure, with the unknown. But successful people choose to begin even when they're not ready. They understand that one small step today, opening that investment account, reading that first book on finance, committing to a daily habit, will multiply into hundreds of steps in the future, creating a path that's impossible to see from the starting line. And if you're listening to this thinking, it's too late for me, I've already missed the boat, stop right there. No, it's never too late. Because compound interest doesn't only apply to money in a strict financial sense. It applies to knowledge, habits, and character as well. Every book you read today multiplies into wisdom tomorrow, sharpening your mind and opening doors you didn't know existed. Every bit of discipline you practice today, whether it's waking up early, exercising, or managing your time better, grows into inner strength, resilience that carries you through life's storms. Every relationship you nurture today with kindness and consistency blossoms into opportunities later, networks that support and elevate you. What matters isn't how much you start with, whether it's $10, $100, or $1,000. It's when you start and the commitment to keep going. And if there's one thing I've learned throughout this journey of self-discovery and mentoring others, it's this. Winners aren't the fastest runners in the race. They're the ones who start earliest and stay longest on the track. They don't wait to have all the answers before taking action. They start, they adjust along the way, they learn from missteps, and they let time do the rest, trusting in the process. You see, money can work tirelessly for you 24/7 without breaks or complaints, but only if you give it the chance by starting now. Let time be your partner, not your enemy. Because if you don't use time to create wealth, financial, emotional, or spiritual, time will quietly take it away from you, slipping through your fingers like sand. Remember, every day you delay is a day you make your future poorer, more limited, more regret-filled. You can't control the market's ups and downs, the economy's fluctuations, or external circumstances, but you can control the decision to begin today. Don't wait until you have more. Start with what you have, no matter how humble. A small amount today, if planted right in fertile ground and given time to grow, can become tomorrow's financial freedom, a legacy that endures. And I want you to ask yourself, right now in this moment, if I don't start today, where will I be 10 years from now? Will I be looking back with pride at the growth I've achieved, or with sorrow at the opportunities one let pass? Because sometimes, the smallest first step, the one that feels insignificant or even scary, is the most important one of your entire life. It's the spark that ignites the fire of compounding. And that's just the beginning. Because no matter how early you start, if you don't have the patience to wait through the slow periods, you'll still destroy the power of compound interest with your own hands. The next principle will show you why compound interest doesn't reward the impatient and how patience can become life's greatest reward, a virtue that turns waiting into winning. Now, let's move to principle 2. Compound interest is the reward for the patient. If there's one unchanging law in the financial universe, one principle that holds true across centuries and economies, it's this. Compound interest always favors those who can wait, those who possess the inner fortitude to endure the silence of growth. Yet, ironically, most people quit before the miracle happens, pulling out just as the momentum begins to build. Compound interest isn't for the impatient souls who demand instant gratification. It's slow at first, quiet in its progress, and seems to do nothing for what feels like an eternity. It's like watching a young tree you've planted in your backyard. Each day you check on it and it grows so little that you can barely notice the change. But one day, perhaps years later, you look back and realize it's become a towering forest, providing shade, fruit, and beauty beyond what you imagined. I once met a young man in Texas during one of my speaking engagements. He was hardworking, ambitious, and had been consistently investing $200 a month into a simple index fund. After 3 years of this routine, he grew discouraged, his enthusiasm waning. He said to me, "Jim, I've been saving for so long, putting aside money month after month, but I'm still not much richer. It feels like nothing's happening." I smiled, recognizing the familiar trap of impatience, and said, "A seed doesn't bear fruit after one summer. It needs 4 seasons, sowing in spring, watering through summer's heat, waiting through autumn's change, and harvesting in winter's calm." But he couldn't wait. The lack of visible progress wore him down. He stopped investing, withdrew his money, and spent it on fleeting pleasures. A new gadget, a vacation, things that brought temporary joy but no lasting value. 10 years later, he came back to me at another event, his face lined with regret, and said, "I wish I had been more patient. If I had stuck with it, where would I be now?" That's the tragedy of so many lives. They want results faster than the natural pace of growth allows, and in their haste they miss the magic. But everything great in life, whether it's money accumulating in an account, a career advancing through ranks, wisdom deepening with age, or love strengthening over years, has its own rhythm, a deliberate, unhurried tempo that can't be forced. You can't make a tree grow faster by pulling on its leaves or shouting at it to hurry up. That only damages it. You can only plant it carefully, care for it consistently, and wait with trust. Compound interest works just like life itself. In the beginning you see nothing, no dramatic changes, no overnight transformations. In the middle you start to doubt your choices, wondering if it's all for naught. But in the end, if you persist, you realize all your quiet efforts, all those unseen moments of discipline, were rewards for your patience, compounding into something magnificent. Someone once asked me during a seminar, "Jim, how can I get rich fast? What's the shortcut?" I replied without hesitation, "If you need it fast, you'll never get rich. Because real wealth doesn't come from speed or shortcuts. It comes from consistency, from showing up day after day. When you keep planting seeds of effort, keep learning new skills, keep working with unwavering discipline, you're laying the foundation for a future you can't yet see but can feel building beneath the surface." During my own hard times, when business was slow or investments dipped, I used to doubt myself too. I'd ask, is what I'm doing worth it? Am I on the right path, or am I wasting my time? But every time I was about to give up, to cash out or change course impulsively, I remembered the law of compound interest. And I understood that every small progress, every incremental gain, if continued long enough, becomes a breakthrough, a tipping point where growth accelerates. It's the same in personal growth. You can't read one book and instantly change your life, becoming wiser or more capable overnight. But if you commit to reading just 10 pages a day for 5 years, you'll have read over 150 books, absorbing knowledge from hundreds of minds. Then you won't just have information, you'll have wisdom, the kind that compound interest of the mind produces. Insights that connect, ideas that innovate, perspectives that empower. The same applies to relationships. One thank you a day, one small act of care or kindness repeated long enough, builds a bond that money can't buy, a network of trust and support that compounds into lifelong alliances and opportunities. Compound interest isn't just a financial formula scribbled on a napkin or taught in economics class. It's a law of the universe, governing growth in all forms. Whatever you plant consistently, be it seeds in soil, money in markets, or positivity in people, you'll harvest abundantly, but only if you allow the process to unfold. But remember, patience doesn't mean passivity or laziness. It means continuing to act, to invest, to nurture, even when you see no immediate result. It's the belief that every small step still moves you forward, no matter how slowly, inching toward the horizon. The world will always test your patience. It will make you doubt with distractions, tempt you with quick wins, make you think you're wasting time on something that's not paying off fast enough. But if you stop, if you give in to that voice of impatience, you'll never know how close you were to success, how near the breakthrough was. I once told a group of students at a university lecture, patience is the price you pay to be rich, not just in money but in life. They laughed at first, thinking it was an exaggeration. But 10 years later, some of them came back to thank me saying, "Now we understand what you meant. Patience isn't waiting, it's working while waiting." Because now they see clearly, compound interest isn't just money creating money. It's discipline creating freedom, effort creating ease. So, if today you feel tired, if results seem too slow to materialize, remember that everything great takes time. A seed doesn't become a mighty tree overnight, reaching for the sky in a single bound. An idea doesn't succeed in a week, blooming fully formed. And an ordinary person doesn't become extraordinary in a month, transformed by magic. But if they keep going, day by day, step by step, time will stand on their side, amplifying their efforts. And you know what? Sometimes silence is the sound of growth. You don't see it happening, but it's there, roots deepening. You don't hear it, but it's multiplying, branches extending. That's the power of compound interest. The reward for those who dare to wait, who choose faith over frustration. And remember this, even if you're patient, there's still a dangerous mistake waiting ahead, one that can destroy everything you've built if you're not vigilant. In the next principle, I'll share the habit that makes many people pull their seeds before harvest and how you can avoid repeating that mistake, ensuring your growth remains uninterrupted. Principle 3, don't pull the seeds before harvest. There's a mistake that so many people make, a common pitfall that has shattered millions of financial dreams and personal aspirations. They pull the seeds right before harvest, uprooting their progress just as it's about to bear fruit. They start well, with enthusiasm and good intentions. They stay consistent for a while, watching their money or efforts begin to sprout and show promise. Then, lured by immediate gratification or misled by impatience, they eagerly take it out to spend or abandon. They think they're rewarding their effort, claiming a well-deserved treat, but in reality, they've just killed the magic that compound interest was about to deliver, snuffing out the potential for exponential growth. Compound interest is like a garden you've tended with care. When you plant seeds, you need to patiently water them, protect them from weeds, and let time do its part in nurturing them to maturity. But if you dig up the seeds every month to check how much they've grown, to see if they're ready, yet you don't just slow the process, you kill it entirely. Money works the same way. If you don't let returns generate more returns, if you constantly withdraw or redirect prematurely, you're cutting off the roots of wealth, preventing the tree from ever bearing fruit. I once knew a man in California, a hard-working entrepreneur who had built a small business from scratch. He invested consistently for 5 years, watching his account balance grow steadily through smart choices and market gains. His portfolio started earning nicely, the compounding beginning to accelerate. Excited by this visible progress, he withdrew a large portion to buy a new car, a luxury he felt he deserved, and a bit more for an extravagant travel adventure. He thought he was enjoying the fruits of his labor, celebrating his success. But just a few years later, when unexpected challenges hit, his account had almost returned to square one, depleted and stagnant. Meanwhile, his friend who started at the same time with similar amounts, but kept his money untouched, allowing the compounding to continue unchecked, had reached figures he could only dream of. The difference wasn't in their initial capital or investment acumen. It was in consistency, in not interrupting the flow. That's why successful people understand that financial freedom doesn't come from getting rich quick through risky schemes or lucky breaks, but from keeping your money working relentlessly. When you spend prematurely, you're eating into your principal, the core that generates growth. But when you let your money keep multiplying, reinvesting dividends and gains, you're building a financial family tree for the future. Money begetting money, children, then grandchildren, then great-grandchildren, all working in concert to serve your freedom and security. You might ask, so, do I ever get to enjoy it? Must I deny myself all pleasures? Of course, enjoyment is part of life, but at the right time, in measured ways. Harvest comes only when the tree is sturdy, when the soil is rich enough to sustain it, and when the roots have taken firm hold. Enjoy the fruit, the rewards of your labor, but don't eat the seeds, the core investments that promise future bounties. Because today's seeds are tomorrow's forests, providing shelter and abundance for years to come. I remember the first time I had some investing success in my early 30s. My portfolio had grown modestly but noticeably, and I wanted to celebrate, to mark the milestone. I had a fancy watch, a trip to Europe, a few lavish dinners with friends. But an older mentor, a man whose wisdom I trusted deeply, pulled me aside and said, "Jim, if you spend all of your first reward, you'll never get the second. Let the gains fuel more gains." Those words stayed with me, echoing in my mind during moments of temptation. From then on, I learned to stay disciplined even when success began to appear, to resist the urge to cash out prematurely. Because nothing is easier to lose than progress that isn't yet ripe, that hasn't fully matured. Like a farmer tending his fields, you can't harvest every day, reaping rewards whenever the mood strikes. You plant today with intention, you tend tomorrow with care, and you only reap when the season arrives, when the crops are full and ready. Impatient people always want results early, demanding proof of progress now. And that's why they never see the true power of time, never experience the explosion of growth that comes after the quiet buildup. If you're in the investing stage, whether it's money in stocks, career advancement through skills, or personal growth through habits, let returns keep reinvesting in themselves. Every skill you learn, use it to learn the next skill, building a ladder of competence. Every experience you have, reinvested into lessons that inform future decisions. Every dollar you earn, let it create the next dollar, multiplying through wise allocation. And you know what? This principle doesn't just apply to finance. It's true in every area of life. How many people want results right after they start a new relationship, expecting deep connection overnight? How many begin learning a skill and already want mastery after a few sessions? How many start a job and immediately demand promotions and success? And when they don't see anything yet, when the growth is underground, invisible, they quit. They pull the seeds halfway, abandoning the garden before it blooms. Success, like financial freedom, only comes to those who know how to plant with purpose, wait with patience, and keep with consistency. If you want compound interest to work for you, let it live long enough to mature, to reach its full potential. Don't pull the seeds before harvest, trust the process. Let time become your most faithful asset manager, handling the growth while you focus on the planting. And remember this, even if you've been patient and kept the seeds planted, there's still a bigger secret, something that turns compound interest from mere profit into a financial lineage that serves your freedom for generations. In the next principle, I'll share the art of reinvesting returns, how to make your money start producing the next generations. Money children, money grandchildren, money great-grandchildren. Principle 4. Reinvest your returns. If the previous principle taught you not to pull the seeds before harvest, preserving the potential for growth, this one teaches you to keep planting the seeds you've harvested, creating an endless cycle of abundance. Because in the world of compound interest, adding new capital from your pocket matters less than letting the returns you've earned continue to earn more returns, building upon themselves. I once told my students in a workshop, if you want money to work for you, don't give it a vacation after it finishes the first shift. Money, like a dedicated employee, performs best when given more responsibilities, when allowed to labor continuously. When you let returns keep working, reinvesting dividends, interest, or gains back into the principal, you create a financial family tree where money children are born, then money grandchildren and money great-grandchildren, all contributing to your wealth. This exponential growth is the true magic, turning linear effort into geometric rewards. I remembered a young woman I met at a seminar in Chicago, a single mother working 2 jobs to make ends meet. She said she started very small, just $50 a month squirreled away into a low-risk mutual fund. Every time she made a profit, modest gains from market appreciation, she reinvested it all instead of cashing out to spend on immediate needs or wants. After 10 years of this quiet discipline, her account had grown nearly 10 times, providing a cushion that allowed her to reduce her work hours and spend more time with her children. She said, "I'm not wealthy because I'm a great investor or had insider tips. I'm wealthy because I let the money work by itself, compounding without interruption." And that's what most people don't understand. Reinvesting is multiplication in the financial world. Returns only become true power when they're cycled back into the system, when you give them the chance to create more value, layer upon layer. Like a smart farmer after a bountiful harvest, he doesn't eat all the grain, consuming every last kernel in celebration. He keeps the best portion, the healthiest, most promising seeds, to sow for the next season, ensuring even greater yields. That's the cycle of growth. Harvest with gratitude, keep what sustains, replant for abundance, and reap more than before. I made the opposite mistake when I was young, in my eager 20s. Every time I earned a little money from a side hustle or early investment, I rushed to reward myself. A shiny watch to impress friends, a spontaneous trip to escape routine, a few fancy dinners to feel successful. I thought I was enjoying the fruits of my labor, living in the moment. But really, I was stealing the chance for that money to produce its siblings, to multiply and create a legacy. When I finally realized it, through the guidance of mentors and my own reflections, I understood a truth that changed everything. The wealthy don't spend their returns frivolously, they reinvest them strategically. They know that every dollar today, if reinvested wisely, can become dozens of dollars in the future, building wealth that endures. And this isn't only true for money in bank accounts or stock portfolios. You can reinvest knowledge. Read a book, absorb its lessons, then apply them to learn something deeper, more advanced. You can reinvest relationships. Help someone selflessly, build trust through consistency, then let that relationship generate opportunities, collaborations, or support in return. You can reinvest time. Turn every hour of focused study into a skill, every skill into income streams, every income into freedom that allows more time for what matters. That's compound interest in life, and you are the steward of that flow, the architect deciding where to direct the energy. Many people see only the short-term profit, the quick win, and forget the long-term benefit that comes from patience. They harvest early, spend fast on ephemeral pleasures, and then start over from scratch, stuck forever in the loop of earn, spend, regret, repeat. But those who understand compound interest are different. They don't live to spend impulsively, they live to build intentionally. They let returns create a system that generates more, an ecosystem of growth, so that one day that system sustains them without constant input. If you look back at history, every great company in the world, from Apple to Amazon, was built on this principle. They don't withdraw all the profits in the first year to lavish on executives. They reinvest in innovation, technology, people, and brand, creating a massive lift that new money alone can't achieve, scaling to global dominance. So, if you've earned a little something today, whether it's money from a paycheck, knowledge from a course, or experience from a challenge, ask yourself, will I spend it on the fleeting or will I reinvest it for the lasting? One small decision repeated over time can create two entirely different lives. One side is consumption, leading to temporary highs and long-term lacks. The other is accumulation, building toward sustainable abundance. One is living for today's whims, the other is building for tomorrow's security. I once heard a saying that made me think for a long time: the poor spend money to show off, the middle class save for safety, and the rich reinvest for freedom. And freedom, financial, emotional, temporal, is the ultimate result of compound interest wisely applied. Therefore, reinvest not only your money but also your effort, your knowledge, your kindness. Every time you cycle your returns back into the system, you're expanding it, making it more robust and resilient. And one day you'll realize you no longer have to work tirelessly for money because money has started working tirelessly for you, a silent partner in your success. But the story doesn't end here. Because even if you know how to reinvest, there's a factor stronger than any number or strategy, the one that turns every small effort into a great achievement: time. In Principle 5, I'll share why time is the best investor, the silent but powerful friend who can turn every small dollar you have into immense wealth, if you let it. Principle 5. Time is the best investor. If there's one companion that every millionaire, thinker, and successful person relies on without fail, it's time. No one is richer than time in potential, and no one is wiser than its steady hand. Time is the best investor in the world, patient beyond measure, disciplined in its march, and never wrong in its calculations. You can start with very little, a few dollars, a basic skill, a simple habit, but if you give time enough opportunity to work its magic, it will do the work you cannot, multiplying your efforts in ways that defy initial expectations. Because time has a strange, almost mystical power. It multiplies whatever you plant, whether it's money in an account, knowledge in your mind, or habits in your daily routine. I once met a man in Oregon during a cross-country speaking tour. He wasn't a millionaire flashing wealth or a celebrity with fame. He lived simply, worked a steady job as a teacher, and invested every month without fanfare. When I asked him, "How much did you start with?" he answered modestly, "Just $30 a week, nothing extravagant." I pressed further, "So, what's your secret to building such stability?" He smiled warmly and replied, "I just let time work for me day by day." 30 years later, that modest number had become wealth that surprised even him. A comfortable retirement fund, a paid-off home, the freedom to travel. Not because he invested brilliantly with high-risk strategies or insider knowledge, but because he stayed consistent, letting time multiply the reward through compounding. Many people think that to succeed, they need to be smarter than the average person, bolder in their risks, or luckier with opportunities. But in truth, you just need to be more patient, more willing to play the long game. Time is the fairest of all forces. It doesn't care who you are, whether you're rich or poor, brilliant or average. It only rewards those who use it correctly, who align their actions with its flow. Young people often underestimate the power of time, dismissing it as something they have in abundance. They want results in months, weeks, even days, instant success in a fast-paced world. But the wise understand that true wealth doesn't come from running fast and burning out. It comes from moving in the right direction long enough for momentum to build. Because time combined with discipline can turn the ordinary into the extraordinary, the mundane into the magnificent. I often say, you can't force time to run faster, but you can make it work for you with every choice. Each passing day you have the power to decide. Let time drain away in idleness or distractions, or let it generate returns through purposeful action. If you use time to learn consistently, to invest wisely, to build positive habits, then every minute is creating assets, intellectual, financial, emotional. But if you waste it on meaningless pursuits, endless scrolling, unproductive worries, fleeting pleasures, time still works, only this time it works against you, compounding regrets and missed opportunities. Think about this scenario to illustrate. One person invests $100 a month for 10 years starting young, then lets it sit. Another starts 10 years later but invests twice as much, $200 a month, trying to catch up. Who wins? The first person, hands down. Not because he has more money initially, but because he gave time more room to multiply value, allowing compounding to do its exponential work. That's the power of early action, something no amount of money can buy back once lost. I know there are times you feel results are coming too slowly, dragging on without fanfare. You ask yourself, am I on the right path? Is this effort paying off? But remember, everything great takes time to mature. An oak tree needs 50 years to become sturdy, its branches spreading wide. A diamond needs millions of years under pressure to form its brilliance. And so does your life. Each day you live with discipline is a day time is quietly working for you, shaping your future. See time as a skilled carpenter, meticulously crafting a masterpiece. Every chisel strike, every careful carve, no matter how small or unnoticed, is contributing to the final form. You can't rush the artist. You can only trust that when you do your part, providing the materials and vision, time will finish the rest with perfection. If you truly grasp this principle, you'll stop competing with others in short sprints, measuring yourself against their quick wins. Because you know time doesn't create fairness in the moment, it creates differentiation over the long haul. The patient today will be the rewarded tomorrow, reaping bounties. The hasty today will be the regretful later, wondering what could have been. And you know what? Sometimes, doing nothing is also a strategy, as long as you're letting time work for you, allowing the seeds to grow undisturbed. A seed doesn't need to try to grow faster. It only needs to keep growing every day, drawing nutrients from the soil. If you feel these lessons truly resonate with you, hit subscribe to continue this journey with me, where we explore the principles that help you go farther each day, step by step, habit by habit, decision by decision. Because in the world of Jim Rohn, there is no miracle greater than consistency over time, no force more powerful than time allied with effort. But wait, there's more to this philosophy. Principle 6. Control the flow of compound interest. Time may be the best investor, a reliable force that multiplies all, but if you don't know how to control its flow, directing it purposefully, time won't work for you, it will work for someone else, perhaps dissipating into chaos. This is what most people don't realize. They plant seeds, they wait patiently, but they forget that the flow of finances, like the flow of a river or life itself, needs guidance, channels, and dams to be effective. Imagine you own a river of compound interest, a stream of potential wealth. If you let it flow freely without planning or control, the water can overflow, eroding banks, flooding fields, washing away everything you've built. But if you know how to channel it, set canals for direction, build dams for storage, that water becomes energy, powering mills, irrigating crops, lighting up your entire city. Compound interest is the same. It can be a tremendous force for good or a double-edged sword that cuts against you depending on how you direct the flow. I once met a man successful in business, a self-made entrepreneur who had risen from nothing. He earned money well through hard work, invested wisely in diverse assets, and let time work for him, watching his wealth compound. But after just a few years of apparent prosperity, he lost nearly all his assets in a series of poor decisions. When I asked what happened, he sighed deeply and said, "Jim, I let money make money, but I didn't know how to manage the flow. I let it run away through leaks I didn't see instead of flowing back to me." That story made me realize, creating cash flow is a skill anyone can learn, but controlling cash flow is an art mastered by few. You can't rely on compound interest alone to make you rich. You need a system to retain, manage, and redirect that power effectively. That system starts with you, with a disciplined mindset, clear goals, and vigilant oversight. Otherwise, your financial flow will always find the quickest way out, leaking through emotional spending, impulsive purchases, or unnecessary desires that seem harmless but compound into debt. Ask yourself honestly, where is every dollar you earn flowing right now? How much is being reinvested into growth? How much is leaking through consumption habits that add no value? The poor let their cash flow outward, spending on things they don't need to impress people they don't know or care about. The rich direct their cash flow inward, to places that can multiply value, investments, education, assets that generate more. That's the difference between consumption, which depletes, and investment, which builds. Between temporary satisfaction that fades and lasting freedom that endures. I still remember saying at a talk in Dallas, money is a faithful servant when directed well, but a ruthless master when left unchecked. If you don't control it with intention, it will control you, dictating your choices and limiting your options. And that's not only true for money but also for time, energy, and emotions. If you don't manage your habits, they will control you, leading to procrastination or burnout. If you don't manage your emotions, they will decide your future, swaying you with fear or greed. If you don't manage your money, money will decide how you live, whether in abundance or scarcity. Controlling the flow of compound interest doesn't mean being stingy or depriving yourself of joy. It means directing the water the right way, where it keeps flowing productively, keeps nourishing your goals instead of running dry in wasteful rivulets. That's why the wise always plan ahead. They divide cash flow into 3 parts. 1 part to live comfortably but modestly, 1 part to learn and grow, education, skills, 1 part to grow wealth, investments, savings. And they stick to that discipline for life, adjusting as needed but never abandoning the structure. If you do that, compound interest is no longer just a concept in a book. It becomes a self-operating ecosystem. A system in which money creates more money, habits create more opportunities, and time creates more freedom. I call that the calm of the controller, the peace that comes from knowing your flow is secure. You no longer fear market volatility because you understand your flow is diversified. You no longer panic at losses because you know everything is still moving in the right direction, guided by your hand. You become the owner of your destiny, not the one being swept along by currents. And the most beautiful part, when you control your own compound flow, you can help others do the same. Because true success isn't measured by how much you have in isolation, but by how many lives are changed by what you create, by the ripples you send out. Bridge sentence to the conclusion. At this point, you understand how to plant with intention, how to wait with patience, how to reinvest with wisdom, and how to control the flow with discipline. But there's one final element, the one that gives your efforts a timeless meaning. Leaving a legacy. Because money can be lost or spent, but the influence and value you plant in others will multiply forever, compounding across generations. Principle 7. Turn compound interest into legacy. At this point, you've walked through the entire journey of compound interest. A journey not just about accumulating dollars and cents, but about cultivating a mindset, forging habits, and shaping life itself. You've learned to start early, seizing time's advantage before it's gone. You've understood that patience is a reward in disguise, not a punishment to endure. You've learned not to pull the seeds before harvest, allowing growth to reach its peak. You've learned to reinvest your returns so both money and knowledge continue to multiply, creating cycles of abundance. And finally, you've seen that time, when properly directed and controlled, can turn every small effort into a lasting legacy that transcends your lifetime. But all of that would be meaningless if you don't take the power of compound interest beyond the confines of finance, applying it to the broader canvas of existence. Because life itself is an investment, a series of choices that compound. Every word you speak with encouragement, every action you take with integrity, every person you help along their path is a compound return of influence, rippling outward. Each day you plant something good, a kind gesture, a piece of advice, a moment of support, you're leaving seeds for the next generation to harvest. And like money in a well-managed fund, those seeds will multiply not in a bank account, but in the hearts, minds, and lives of the people you touch, creating a legacy that endures. I once heard an old friend ask, "Jim, what's the difference between being wealthy and being great?" I answered without pause, "Wealthy is when your money creates more money, building personal security. Greatness is when your life creates more value, inspiring and elevating others." Success isn't about how much you have in material terms, it's about who you become along the way, the character you forge, the impact you leave. And the power of compound interest isn't just a formula for spreadsheets, it's a philosophy of living with purpose. Start early in your kindness, stay patient in your pursuits, keep reinvesting in what's good and true. Then one day you'll realize what you're building today doesn't just sustain you, it nourishes those who come after you, a gift that keeps giving. And I want you to ask yourself, what seeds am I planting for the future today? In 10 years, who will be reaping the compound interest of what I do now? My family, my community, the world? If you can hold that question in your heart, guiding your actions, you won't just be richer in wealth. You'll live with deeper meaning, a sense of fulfillment that money alone can't provide. The power of compound interest doesn't lie in cold numbers or calculations. It lies in the mindset of planting with vision, keeping with faith, reinvesting with wisdom, and persevering with heart. Every dollar you invest, every minute you dedicate to growth, every good deed you perform, they're all quietly accumulating value until one day you no longer have to chase success because success will come find you, drawn by the gravity of your consistency. If these lessons truly resonated with you, please like, subscribe, and share this video with someone on their own journey of growth. Because who knows, you might just be planting a seed of compound interest for someone else today, sparking their transformation. And leave a comment below. Which principle from today's video made you think the most, challenging your perspective? I want to read your answer because this journey, we're walking it together, supporting one another. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Jim Rohn once said, "Success is not accidental. It's the result of small disciplines compounded daily." I truly appreciate that you stayed with me until the end of this video. See you in the next one on Jim Rohn Talks, where timeless wisdom continues to plant seeds for the generations to come.